Welcome back to World Affairs in Context, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. It does feel as though things are becoming more and more dystopian in a way, as the European Union is rearming and creating two separate funds worth nearly 8 billion euros for its militarization purposes. It recently announced what I would call an Orwellian plan. Frankly, I could not believe what I read. The European Union is actively exploring ways to use 10 trillion euros of citizens' savings, that's right, of citizen savings, private savings and private investments to be clear, for the EU defense/offense purposes. The European Union leadership has plans to use private capital. If you're in the European Union, this would be your savings. So they're going to use private capital for their military ambitions. Last week, I uploaded a video of Christine Lagarde announcing the launch of the digital euro, the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, that is planned for later this year. Make sure that you watch that video. I included a clip of her sharing the details where she shares the launch date. So my question then becomes, are they rolling out the central bank digital currency to assist with using private savings for military needs? Once the laws are passed, there's really not much that you can do as a citizen, as an individual, and a CBDC gives full control to the issuing entity, or in other words, the central bank or the government. So these are just my questions, but I think it is fair to ask these questions given the recent announcements. So there are several proposals on how the EU plan might actually work. One notable initiative came from Italy. As you can see here, the idea is very much sugar-coated to read mobilizing private savings. It involves Italy's proposal to leverage private capital for defense funding. Italy finance minister actually has outlined a plan to mobilize up to 200 billion euros in private investments for defense. He proposed for this amount to be backed by nearly 17 billion euro public guarantee. The only person who should be thinking about mobilizing private savings is the direct and legal owner of those savings. You would agree with that. However, anything appears to be possible these days in the European Union. Of course, after seizing and using the interest earned on Russian sovereign assets that are held in European central banks, anything is possible. And there is a legal explanation, legal loopholes that could be tailored to fit any sort of ambition, and this is just one of them. Imagine if these headlines came from Russia or from China or from any other unaligned state. They would be all over Western media. We wouldn't hear the end of them. But since this is the EU that is trying to use private savings and private investments for military needs, there's complete silence. It appears Italy's initiative has already received wide support from the EU finance ministers, so likely it will be implemented with some adjustments, I would expect. Reports indicate that finance ministers from Poland and France are on board. Italy's proposal actually complements the massive 8 billion euro defense fund announced by Ursula von der Leyen in early March. So not only will they put you in more debt, in more national debt, but they will also, quote unquote, mobilize your own savings for their military goals. I do hope that those of you who are in Europe are actually paying attention to just how unusual these ideas are becoming. So why is this needed? Why are they coming up with the idea to use private capital for their military needs? Well, the EU is, of course, attempting to use any avenues that are available to fund its rearmament strategy without having to substantially increase taxes on businesses and on individuals, as well as without increasing debt levels too much. It is clear that increasing taxes would be very, very unpopular politically. Nobody wants to go there. But of course, so is trying to mobilize your private savings. The European Union policies have proven to be quite disastrous. Either way, they're very self-harming and short-sighted, arguably. European economies are struggling, and so they're looking for ways to get the funding that they need for their plans. Germany's economy has been contracting for years now, since 2019, as the country's manufacturing moved overseas and high energy costs bankrupted whoever decided to stay. Last week, Volkswagen announced plans to shift from manufacturing civilian vehicles to military equipment. There's an entire video on my channel with more details. Then the UK experienced economic stagnation in the second half of 2024. The forecast for the UK economy has just been downgraded once again to just 1% growth from 1.5% growth, I believe. France is not an exception here either. The country is confronting several significant economic challenges, including high public debt, fiscal deficits, and political instability. So they're not in a position to increase debt. However, they do have quite ambitious military goals. The European Commission said it would actually lift EU financial rules to allow countries to invest in defense. And now the EU appears to have found an alternative route to finance its policies, and that is through your private capital. There are reports of EU finance ministers being in favor of using private savings and private investments for European military ambitions. In addition to Italy's proposal, the EU is also considering much broader measures to fund defense spending. Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President, has already introduced a plan to provide 150 billion euros in loans to member states for defense investments. So these loans are going to go towards funding infrastructure development. These loans are intended to finance the procurement of military equipment such as artillery, missiles, ammunition, drones, and anti-drone systems. Additionally, EU finance ministers plan to utilize joint borrowing. So they are going to increase debt. They're going to use existing European funds and the European Investment Bank's involvement to finance defense projects. Their goal is to increase defense spending without significantly impacting national budgets, or to be more specific, without increasing their already skyrocketing deficits. Whether or not it is possible remains to be seen, but the released details are extremely concerning. Now, the EU's plans to use private and public financial resources for its military needs may be a sign of a degree of desperation, combined with the launch of the digital euro, a CBDC. This is a very concerning development, and if you are in the EU, you might want to look into the details on a local level to find out what is actually going on locally and whether there's anything that you might want to be aware of. So be sure to let us know your thoughts on these developments in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the news. Remember to become a subscriber at worldaffairsincontext.com. You will find more content there. I certainly hope to see you there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye for now.